Hello, welcome back to channel. Today I'm breaking down how I created this cinematic orange and teal look using only DaVinci Resolve's built-in tools plus one of the Mediabee Cinematic LUTs to bring it all together. If you're going for that rich filmic vibe with bold contrast and stylized skin tones, you're gonna love this one. So let's dive in. Let's start with the project settings. I've set both the timeline resolution and the video monitoring resolution to match the resolution of my footage. In the color management tab, I'm using DaVinci Resolve YRGB as my color science. My timeline color space is set to DaVinci White Gamut Intermediate, and the output color space is Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. As you know, it is a solid choice for most online platforms and standard delivery. And here also don't forget to set your 3D LUT interpolation to tetrahedral for the best possible LUT blending and accuracy. Now it is time to set up our input and output CSTs to accurately display the footage. In the input node, I'm converting from the red color space, since that is the camera used here, into DaVinci White Gamut Intermediate, which is where I'll be doing all of my grading work. For the output, I'm using a custom DRT called JP2499, developed by Juan Pablo. It is a beautiful transform that adds a subtle filmic touch and handles contrast and saturation in a very cinematic way. I'll leave a link in the video description so you can download it and try it out yourself. And if you don't want to use this DRT, no worries, you can just use a regular CST node and convert from DaVinci White Gamut Intermediate to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4, and you'll still get great results. Okay, now let's find our hero shot and start building our node tree. I think this is good. Normally at this point I would go ahead and apply the LUT first before these primary nodes, but this footage looks pretty underexposed, so I want to get it to a good exposure level before applying any creative look. Let's start with the contrast. As you can see in the waveform, the blacks are nearly crushed, staying too close to the zero line. So we'll lift them just a bit and adjust the contrast. Now let's do the same for the highlights. Let's check it. Looking better. Now, since we have some room at the top of the waveform, we can slightly increase the overall exposure as well, bringing the highlights closer to the 90% line. Now let's take another look. Yep, definitely improving. As for the balance node, I'm pretty happy with where things are right now. So let's go ahead and add our LUT for a bold cinematic finish. Okay, I think for this look I'm going with the Halo LUT. I like this one because it brings out golden hues and rich skin tones beautifully while maintaining a cinematic softness. Let's check it. Beautiful. It really helps create that cinematic depth and also gives us a strong foundation to build on. Now we can fine-tune the tones and enhance the mood the LUT introduced. For that, I will use the primary wheels and work on the balance node we created earlier. Let's push the shadows further toward somewhere in that cyan green range to bring out more contrast and mood. And I'll warm up the highlights a little more to enhance that golden glow. And maybe a slight gamma adjustment. Awesome. Okay, let's check it. Look at that. The foundation the Halo LUT gave us is really starting to come alive now. If you find the LUT a bit too strong and want to soften its effect, you can go to the key panel and dial back the key output slightly. Just like this. Let's check again how far we've come. Beautiful. By the way, if you are interested in trying the Mediabee Cinematic LUT pack, you can now use the discount code Mediabee25 to get 25% off your purchase. Don't miss out on this chance to add some beautiful film-inspired looks to your workflow. Let's get back to grading. Before we move on to the secondary grading, I want to add a bit more cyan saturation to the image. I'll do this in a separate note using color slice, just to make a subtle but targeted adjustment. Good. Okay, now let's focus on secondary grading. First, I'll create an extra note, just in case we want to fine-tune anything right after our primary adjustments. Next, I'm going to add a depth map, since there is a lot happening in the background. And I would like to dial it down a bit so our talent stands out more clearly. Let's finesse the depth mask using the sliders. Looking good. Now, I'll add an outside note, which allows us to adjust everything outside the mask. In other words, the background. I'll start by pulling back some of the red saturation, since it feels a little distracting to me. I think we can also gently lower the overall saturation and density of the background to reduce visual noise. Here you can decide how far you want to push this based on the look you are going for, but I think I'll park it here. Now, for the foreground, let's increase the exposure a touch, just to lift the subject. We can also use our trim node here to raise the midtones slightly using custom curves. Okay, now he's standing out more. To keep a sense of depth, though, I'll bring down the shadows just a bit using the log wheels. Perfect. Now, to further enhance the depth and contrast, let's add a soft mask on the subject's face, just to lift it a little more and draw the viewer's attention. Again, I'll lower the log shadows slightly to maintain that contrast and keep the overall balance. Beautiful. It is subtle, but it really helps the subject pop. Lastly, we can add some halation, bloom and vignette for a more cinematic feel. I'll use the film look creator for that. Let's start with a clean slate and add our effects. Perfect. Now, for a punchier look, we can also add a slight contrast pop, just enough to give the image a bit more clarity and depth without overdoing it. Now, let's toggle on and off to see how far we've come. Beautiful. The LUT is definitely helping with that bold cinematic mood. Let's check all of them. What an improvement. Now, if you like the look as is, you can stop here. Or if you want a more pronounced, strong orange and teal look, you can go back to the balance node and further push the tones. Let me give you an example. I'm using my mini panel to tweak the lift and gain color wheels here. Nice, it's looking even more orange and teal now. And there we go. Here is our final orange and teal look. If you found this tutorial helpful, feel free to like, subscribe and drop a comment below. And by the way, don't forget to check out the Mediabee Cinematic LUT pack if you want to try this look yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.